First of all, I just want to thank you for taking a look at my video. I know there's a lot of different videos on drawing and painting out there, and I'm glad that you guys just stopped by and took a look at mine. The three things I kind of want to go over as far as color goes is just being disciplined with your color and choosing which colors are going to work for that particular picture. What I want you to do, number one, is you're going to pick a range of colors that you want. So, picking a range basically just means you don't want every color in every picture. So, not every picture is going to have the full gamut, the entire rainbow, all the way down to black, all the way up to white, going through every hue in between, because you can't create any real mood with that. You get the same result every time if you use all the same colors every time. And if you use every color, then you're always using the same colors. Other than that, values. Values are super important. That's going to show not only dimension, but the contrast between the values is probably one of the strongest aspects of directing your viewer. There's other things like shape contrast, size contrast, and things like that. But your overall values are going to really tell someone where to look, and it's really going to tell the person what the picture is about. When you know these two things, you're kind of off and running with your painting. You have the mood already. You know where things are going to be. You know what values your entire painting is going to live within. But as you go through the process, you need to be unbiased. And what does that mean? So, being unbiased is if something's working in your picture, you want to not do things that are going to ruin it and take away from what's working. So, if you've already picked a range, say you're not going to really use any green in your picture. You know, you're just going to go from everywhere from like purple to yellow, but you're going to stay with the reds, maybe a little bit of bluish purple or whatever, but you're just going to keep the green out of your picture. And then you choose your values. You know, you're not going to have anything all the way black. You might go up to like 70%. And then you're like, oh, well, I need more contrast here. Let me add in this thing, and I'm going to make it green, and I'm going to make it, really dark. Then is that going to help, or is that going to hurt your picture? Are you doing it because you want to save time? You don't want to rework other areas so that you get that contrast? Or are you doing it because it really needs green? If it really needs green, you want to be unbiased and say, hey, this really needs green. I'm going to put green in there. If it doesn't, leave it out, rework other areas, because you've already picked a range and you've already picked your values. And once you go in and start changing those things, then you're changing the overall feeling of your picture, and it's not going to say the same thing you want it to say. It's not necessarily stick with the plan, but it's being honest about when you need to change stuff and when you don't need to change stuff. And maybe that means putting down your pencil or whatever it is that you're using, walking away for a minute, coming back and taking a look at it, having those fresh eyes and seeing what does this really need, or what other things could I change so that I don't have to add those things. We're just going to jump right in. So this image here is just to illustrate a certain point. Both of these pictures here have this box within the scene, and in this scene, this box looks gray under a yellow light, and in this scene, it looks yellow and it's all under a blue light. But if I could show you real quick, let's see. So this box, right? So that's the top of the box. That's the side of the box. And this is the other side of the box. And this one's going to look yellow, right? Not really. See? It is the exact same color box. These are exactly the same when you see it against a white background. But because we have the blue in there, and then this one is yellow, it's a completely different mood to the picture. Also, we have to keep in mind that the color is relative. And if you bring that gray, this grayed out yellow, into this picture, it's going to look a lot more vibrant and yellow. And if you bring that grayed out yellow into this picture, it's going to look dull because everything around it is already yellow. When we pick our color range, be adherent to where color is affected by light and how color is affected by light. So I just made a couple other examples. It's exactly the same concept as before. In this sphere here, those are also both the same colors. I could test and improve it here. Right? Those are exactly the same. But in the context of each picture, this one looks gray and this one looks blue. It's all going to come out to those same things. The way you achieve something like that is keeping in mind where the range of your entire picture is. If we took this grayish ball out of this picture, the whole thing is just warm colors. I mean, green you could say is neutral, but it's really kind of a warm green. You know, it's yellowed a little bit. And then if we do this whole picture, everything's a cool color. I mean, even this gray ball is a cool color because it's actually like a bluish gray. Just keeping those things in mind. I'm gonna do a speed painting of this here. I already did time lapse of it. I'm gonna talk about a couple key things before I get into that. I want to go back to our 3 things that we're going to be looking for as we go through the speed paint. So pick a range. Here's our range. Everything in this picture is in that warmer range. So I didn't really go too far outside of red, yellow, and orange. You know, if you look at the face, there's like pinks and stuff in here, but the pink is really, it's just a, you know, halfway saturated red with a little bit of white in there to bring that value down, right? And then how am I organizing my values? Okay, I have the hair up here is a darker value, and the shirt is a darker value, so that it's not just one straight focal point here. It has those things that carry throughout, right? And then we have our lighter values. Our lightest value in this picture is nowhere near white, because here's white, and then here, let's say we'll take it from the eyeball or from the sleeve of the shirt. This is probably even lighter down here off of his diaper, right? So that's pink, right? When we take it off of the cheek, that's even a darker pink. But look how light that looks, right? That looks like it's really light, but it's not. It's pink. You know, we look over here, you know, that's the same color that we have down here. So we're using our range of values to make this look like it's close to white, but it's not really anywhere near white. Okay, and then what's our darkest value? Let's say over here, just in the UFO or the sleeve or the dinosaurs, any of that. You know, this is just over 50% gray, right? Like 50% would be here, and we're right here. So we're not even into these darker colors here. Okay. What else did we have? We had being unbiased. So that you're going to see more in the speed paint. You're going to see me start with certain colors that I chose, and then I'm going to boost those into more of yellow and orange, because it just starts to work better, because we're getting confused with the face and the background a little bit. You can even see underneath I have like this more grayed out color that I started with. I didn't go in and say, oh, I need this shirt to be blue, let me just make it blue. What I did instead is I chose other elements around the background that needed to be changed. And this is kind of my plan I had for where my values are and where my colors are. So I have, you know, these darker parts that I put together with the sketch. I turn off the color. See, so I just have this original sketch. Right. And I went in and threw color on there. And I said, okay, this is kind of where I want it to go. I want it to live in the red and orange. And then this yellow here. But this yellow was standing out so much to me. And I don't want the viewer's eye to be looking at this yellow here. I want it to kind of flow throughout the whole picture. right? This isn't about dinosaurs being abducted by a UFO. I mean, it's kind of about that, but it's not only about that, right? It's about other things. It's about the look in his eyes. It's about he's trying to tell you a story about these dinosaurs being abducted by a UFO, right? There's like a play between there. So by putting this yellow here, this isn't so completely foreign. But it does help to have this yellow and orange here, and this little sliver of orange. Without that, this blue doesn't look that blue. It looks a little blue, but it doesn't look as blue as it looks now, right? And same thing in the sleeves. These were originally black, and I made them like orangish, brownish, just because whatever bounce light we have coming off of this orange here, or maybe the yellow is getting picked up on the top of his shoulders. All of that is going to contribute to us believing that this blue is being hit by orange light as well, and that's why it's grayed down. So you're looking at this, you might say, well, that doesn't look grayed down, that looks blue. Well, it's not really blue. See, we have, it's in the blue range, but look how close it is to having almost no blue in it, right? Saturation is at 9%. Okay? And I'll just go ahead and stop talking. We'll go into the painting itself, but just remember, we want to keep in mind what our range of colors is, where our values are, and how dark and how light we're going to allow ourselves to go in this picture, right? We're between like 25 and 65% of our values, right? So that narrow range is only about a 40% out of 100% of what we could do for a picture, but there's still areas where there's a lot of contrast, just because the way that we've played with the colors, right? And then being unbiased, right? If we pick that conservative value range and we pick that warm color range, then we want to hold that. But we also don't want to hold it so much that we're not willing to learn things along the way while we're working on this painting. Maybe it's only an hour and a half effort or 2 hour effort or however long this one took me. I had to stop and start it a couple times. But it's still an opportunity to learn. You might learn more in an hour painting than you'll learn in a 6-week course, just because you're being disciplined and you're also being open at the same time. So without further ado, do the time lapse and then I'll recap at the end.
So the painting starts off, it's not that impressive. All I'm doing here is I'm just bringing out a couple of highlights. If you look, I'm hitting that option key a bunch. That brings up my color picker when I'm painting. Just sampling colors from the original image. And then if I feel I need to boost the saturation on a certain color, I just go over and do that. You see I added like a little bit of pink there on the cheek. I just left it kind of a big square there, undefined as far as its area, because I'm going to go back in and be sampling that to add that into the lips, under the eyebrows, on the nose. You're just kind of getting like a close guess on the color. That's why I don't like to start with a sketch that's too well defined, because I don't be afraid to do big swatches of color like that, because I don't want to lose my drawing. So having a sketch that just has general placement is going to be really helpful with you not being afraid to tamper with that drawing. Another thing that I'm doing, if you look, is I keep zooming in and zooming out. That's so I could see the whole picture. If you just stay focused in on one area, even though you're sampling from your original colors, you're not placing them where they need to be placed. See, I added that pink just kind of everywhere with an airbrush over the face, and then I went back to my other brush. It's right there. If you look, I just keep working and reworking areas by zooming out and zooming in. Just try not to get afraid of changing something if it needs to be changed. That's where being unbiased comes in right here. Right now, you're just decision making. You're just zooming out, looking at the whole thing, what needs to be changed. Zooming back in, what needs to be changed. That part I added the yellow because every time I zoomed out, all I could see is that UFO. Now it kind of fades back in. Here I thin out the body and I add that little sliver of orange. And now you could look at the shirt, it looks more blue. Even though I'm adding in some oranges in the shadow part of the shirt, it's still reading as blue. Alright, I'm just going through, adjusting, cleaning up a couple of edges that I didn't like, bringing in some highlights, adding, covering up little areas where the sketch is still coming through, and I just adjusting some shapes. Right here I'm going to move the eyes up a little bit. There we go. If you're working traditionally, you could just repaint those, or you might want to at least place the facial features kind of more cleanly if you don't want to have to redraw those. But the eyes that I drew, that it's only like 3-4 shapes to make up that eye. You know, I grouped the top eyelid with the pupil because he has dark eyes, so it's not a big deal to move those at all. So I clean up the shadow under the neck, and then I'm going to call it.
All right, that was a fun little painting. I hope you guys uh, learned a little bit from it. I mean, you get away with some pretty simple stuff as long as your colors are right. Like in here, we're not too detailed or anything like that, especially down in here where it fades off into nothing. Um, if you want to see more videos about color and stuff, I create some of those. Right now, I kind of want to suggest a few. I know it's not maybe a good idea to show you guys what other people are making cool videos, but I learn a lot from a lot of other artists on here. So there's Marco Bucci. He has some awesome videos if you want to check his stuff out. Of course, there's Schoolism, guys like Nathan Fowles and stuff like that. They have some awesome videos there if you don't mind a paywall. And then, of course, I'm going to be posting a bunch more videos, but what I need you guys to do is comment for me and tell me kind of what other stuff you want to see. We go over anatomy, we go over composition. We do more color stuff if you guys have more questions and it's enough content for me to put a whole video together. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys again, and if you guys see any other cool videos out there about drawing or painting, just let me know because I want to learn stuff too. All right, awesome. Have a good one, and subscribe so when new videos come out, you get them. All right, sweet. Bye.